Hello, my name is Litonya Rosemary. I'm an architect, a member of the Architectural Association of Kenya, and an environmental design consultant. I'm also the director of Buxton Build Construction. Today, we are going to look at green buildings and how they can be done. Now, a green building is capable of conserving energy as well as generating energy, and in so doing, it helps to promote sustainable development in the build sector. So, when you choose to build green or to do a green building, the first point of action is usually the selection of a site, or rather the planning of a site, assuming that you already have a site. So when you're selecting a site for a green building, you should ensure that that site is not in a riparian reserve, is not in a protected zone, or is not part of the natural resources that need to be left untouched. When you're looking at the site planning, one of the major complaints, or rather the major effects on climate that are brought about by buildings, is that we build on most of the land and leave very little space for vegetation, landscaping, and for the planting of trees. So when you're planning for a green building, you should try to ensure that the footprint of the building is smaller so that you leave enough space to plant trees, to have vegetation, and to have playing areas for babies and walkable spaces. Now, the second item that you're supposed to look at when you're deciding to go green in your building is the energy efficiency. First of all, you have to select what type of energy you want to use. Do you want the renewable energy or the non-renewable energy? For the Kenyan context, it is advised that you go the solar way so that then you are able to generate energy that you can use in your building. And a green building, most of the times, should be able to generate energy that can serve its functions and still be able to be let out to other buildings. About conservation of energy, I should look for mechanisms that conserve energy, such as motion sensing lights that are able to switch on and off depending on whether the space is in use or not. The third item you should look at when you're deciding to construct a green building is the efficiency of the use of water in a building. First and foremost, you need to be able to conserve water in your building to ensure that you don't use more than you need. In matters conserving water, then you need to look at what type of appliances, what type of plumbing fixtures you have. Are they using more water than they need? And if so, then you should be able to purchase appliances or fixtures that use less water. You can also recycle wastewater on site and be able to use it for functions such as flushing toilets and landscaping. Also, you should be able to provide for rainwater collection in your green building to ensure that other than the normal supply of water, then you have extra supply of water that comes from nature, and then you don't have to pay bills for this kind of water. Another important issue that you need to look at when you're designing for a green building is the stormwater management and drainage. Stormwater is very important because if it's not well managed, then it causes flooding. But if it's well managed, this is water that you can capture and reuse and treat and reuse for activities in the building that can sustain it, such as landscaping, flushing of toilets, and other activities. The other way to control stormwater, other than capturing it, is to use paving materials and landscaping materials that are soft, that allow this water to percolate into the ground. Now, once this water seeps into the ground, then it controls how much surface runoff we have, and then in so doing, we are able to control flooding in our estates and in our towns. If this can be done for every building, then it will reduce the issue of flooding by a very big margin. The other item you need to look at when you're designing for a green building is the waste management. These are specifically talking about solid waste. We have the three R's for solid waste management. That is reduce, reuse, recycle. So when we are looking at reduction, we are looking at reduction of construction waste at the time of construction, reduction of the amount of waste that you're generating in your building during use. Now, when you look at reusing, this is easy to do by separating waste at source, whereby we have the plastic waste in one place, the metallic waste in one place, and waste that is decomposable such as vegetables, be put in one place so that then it's easy to recycle these items and it's easy to dispose them off. When you're also designing green buildings, you need to consider the users of these buildings. And by considering the users, you ensure that the quality of spaces indoors is good enough for the users, because a big percentage of the population spends their time indoors. So when we are looking at the quality of the indoor spaces, we are looking at the noise control. You have to ensure that any noise from outside is blocked, and that your building is insulated from receiving noise from outside, and also that it's insulated from emitting noise to the outside for the safety and comfort of other users of the environment. When you're looking at also the quality of the indoor spaces, we are looking at ventilation. Do we have enough air circulating in these buildings? Can we be able to have air moving through one window and getting out through the other window, so that then the indoor space does not grow mold, and then we don't have sick buildings that are going to make you sick. When we are looking also at the quality of indoor spaces, we are looking at lighting. You have to ensure that this building has sufficient light during the day that is natural, and also at night, the light fixtures that are selected do not produce glare, because these are things that affect your eyesight, and with long exposure to lack of natural light and long exposure to glare, then it's easy to lose your eyesight. Also, with regards to noise control, persistent exposure to noise, especially in the urban areas where we have urban noise, it leads to hearing loss later in the year. So it's important that when you're designing for green buildings, this is something that you consider. Another important tenet of green building construction is the selection of materials. Ensure that you select materials that are locally available, and most importantly, these materials should be easy to manufacture, they should be easy to fix, and then they should be easy to dispose at the time of decommissioning of the building. In conclusion, these are the items that you need to look at when you're designing for green buildings. We also need to realize that green buildings are not necessarily more expensive than conventional buildings. And if they are more expensive than conventional buildings in terms of installation costs of maybe renewable energy sources like solar, then you have your return on investment and you're able to break even very fast. And also, green buildings will give you more returns on investment, because then you have tenants that stay for longer, because then the buildings are comfortable. So the only difference between a green building and a building that is not green is almost always the planning and the choice of consultants. Thank you.